Okay, I'm back. I just wanted to clean this up a little bit, like I mentioned. I did take some of my degreaser and Q-tips and a rag, cleaned this all up, shined this up, cleaned, now it's not so dirty, greasy anymore. Cleaned up the parts. As I mentioned, I got the vertical gear worm drive, which goes down in here. So that's all ready to go. I did clean this up, and I did a little research, and I checked the other station that I have, because if you recall, this drum was loose. It's on a round insulator. They're kind of a snug fit. When they're pressed on there, they're meant to stay in one place, because when this turns, the whole thing is supposed to go together. With this one spinning on its own, as soon as it would hit the finger, I'm sure it would just stop where it was at. So I put a little epoxy on the round insulator, slipped this back on. I lined it up based on my other station, which when this is in place, excuse my fingers here, that this, when this is lined up the way it's supposed to be, they're in the right position. So hopefully I got it very, very close, because like I said, each function has, when it touches fingers, does a separate thing. So I just wanted to make sure that we get that right. So, and this is pretty secure, so I think we'll be okay. So with that said, we can start putting this together. This piece is what holds this up. We have a series of washers, one on this end, one on this end, and then we also have, I cleaned the motor, not to change the subject, but I cleaned the motor up. I cleaned all the dirt and grease off of it. I oiled it up a little bit. Down inside here, there are little cotton pads that surround this shaft. So I could only assume that that was their idea of oiling. You can get in there with an oiler. Excuse my arm. You can get in there with an oiler down in here, and it's right here. It's hard to see. I don't know if you can see that with the light I have, but there's a little pad here, and there's a little pad there that I, oiled up a little bit. I didn't saturate it to where it's running out, but so when this is back in place, we should be in pretty good shape. So with all that being said, we'll do this one step at a time. Let me gather my parts. If you recall, we had a brass washer up here for this, and this goes all the way down in. I'm checking my parts to make sure we got all those together. Then this goes up against that. This keeps falling in the way here. But this goes in here. This holds it up. There we go. So with that, we just want to make sure we got this going right. So make sure we got this in here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So You see this starting to move. Yeah, so that's what the way this works. Like I said, each finger does a task, and when this mechanism is placed where it belongs and this drive spins around, you gotta hold it down a little bit, but when that goes around, you'll notice when I get to the big part of this drum over here, when this bigger arm comes around, it will it'll see how that's starting to lift, and it'll move it, and it takes it to the beginning of the record. Then the record actually, as records do, it'll take this needle all the way to the end of the record. Then when it gets to the end, it will go back to the beginning. It lifts up and goes back. It's sort of like a counterweight. It's sort of, you can hear already it's ready to pick up sound. So the mechanism's working properly. I just have to put the screw back in, if I can find that screw, and its lock washer. This is I believe that's the lock washer that was on there. So with that, let me move this out of the way. So we have this gear drop down in, this mechanism back together. We just have to put the screw back up and through here. Let me see if I can do that without looking. There we go. Come on now. I can see you. It's like whack-a-mole, but it won't come up through. There we go. Okay. So with that, and the lock washer, let me push this up in there a little bit more. I just want to turn that screw a little bit to get it. There we go. Like I said, I barely notched. If you can see, I barely notched this frame to get that screw out. It makes it much easier. It's buried under there just enough where it won't come out. You can take the nut off from the top, but to get this mechanism off without trying to bend this bracket, it's almost impossible. So notching that out won't hurt anything, and it'll make it easier down the road if you ever need to take this apart again for whatever reason. I'm always taking things apart, so I like to make it easier the second time around if I can, because there's always something going on with these, and you never know. But hopefully this will be the last time I got to do this to this one. So we'll snug that up. I think this is the nut cracker for that. Yeah, it is, but just can't quite get in there. So what I'll do is hold this, tighten it up with the screwdriver from this end. All right. There we go. So that's pretty snug there. We got that down in place. Looks like that's going to work good. As I get closer to the end, what I'll do is put a little oil here and there, and just to keep that lubricated. Don't need grease there, just oil. We need grease here and here, so we'll need to put some grease on the worm drive and these gears. Now these gears are made out of a Bakelite material, which was pretty popular back in the day. As you can see, the brown color, they're actually like, I don't know what the material is made of, but when you look at them on edge, it almost looked like a wood material. So but it's not as strong as steel, but they seem to be in good shape. They're not wore off. So what I'll do, we'll grease all this up today, and we'll go from there. and then we'll see. We're going to try it, see if we can get it to work, and then you never can tell. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. So next, what we want to do is get the motor prepared to go back on here. So let's see. While we have some space and finger room, I'm going to lengthen this wire a little bit and get this ready for a reconnection on the hot side. Then this needs to get a little bit of wire showing as well. And I think we'll have enough here to solder back on here. And then let's see what we have here. This is kind of ugly on this end. Let's see what we got. I'm not sure who put the masking tape around there. It's hard to say. I don't think it came from the factory that way, but I've been wrong before. Let's see. So, excuse me. Cut this little bit of crap off of here. Let's see if we have enough showing. I think we can get some of this cut away, some of this sleeve material they use. So, all right. So we have the wires bared. We can put this back together and try it out. Actually, I cleaned this out. When I took this apart and cleaned it, I didn't try it yet. I mean, what we should do before I bolt it all down, let's try it. Put a little power to it, and we'll see what happens. I might shock myself and see that it works again. So, okay. So we'll take this as the one side, the negative side. We'll throw the negative side here. So let's set that here. Let's put an alligator clip over here. Clamp it on. There we go. Oh, look at that. It's already spinning. It's very quiet. I don't know if you can see that spinning, but it's yeah, look at that thing go. Okay, so that's working. It's a good sign. Cleaning it out, sometimes that's all it takes. And you know, these sit a long time. They get stuck. They get all gummed up. They just freeze up. So anyway, we got that. So that should operate this nicely. So I'm going to get the screws and the lock washers and the nuts for here. We got this pair and this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put the lock washer underneath this time instead of on top. I think it'll be a little easier to hold the nut in place. So again, let me see if I can get this dangling off where I can work from underneath and on top, where I don't have to fight this too bad. So let me see here. Put this under there. Let's get the motor lined up there. Let me see if I can get the nut started. Whoop. Ah! Okay, so being right-handed, let's switch. Let's see if we can get this in one fell swoop here, get this tightened down enough to put the other side and get it started. What I found out with these American Flyer motors, the ones in their accessories that are made this way, when you think about it, look at how they're put together, there's just two brackets. And the brackets are just bolted right to the field coil, and the worm armature slides. It's got the other part of the field. It's one long, just like this was, and it has to be exactly vertical and level for it to work right to operate the gears. If these bolts, if this nut and the screw are too tight or not tight enough, and they tip it forward or backwards, or cockeyed a little bit, it's going to either jam up or not work. So I found that out on my log accessory motor, the log loader, that the motor was bolted down so tight, and these nut and screw here were screwed in so tight that it just put so much pressure on the armature shaft it would not turn. So as I loosened things up here and there, and I would keep turning this, I finally got it to go freely. So there's a couple things to look at when you're working on these accessories. So anyway, that one's tight enough for now. It's finger tight. I keep messing with this doily. I probably don't need to do that. I'm just going to get it out of the way for now. I'm trying to hide my ugly table. But I guess it don't matter. You've seen my ugly table before. So again, I'm going to put the lock washer underneath this time. I think it's better than on top. It's normally the way you do it, I would imagine. But I always done that in the past. So I'm going to put this back up under there. Got that lined up fairly easily. I'm going to get this started here. Ooh. Okay. There, we got that one started. So I'm going to tighten it down finger tight a little bit. And let me put a little twist on it here just to snug it up. I don't want to over tighten it. And we want to try to do, I would think doing both sides evenly is probably what you want to do. I mean, there's not a torque specification that I'm aware of, but if you have one tighter than the other, it's going to have the motor sitting in there maybe a little bit cockeyed, and again, we don't want that. So, all right. So what we're going to do, we're going to try that again and see if we get this mechanism to do what it's supposed to do while it's bolted in. So we're going to put the negative clip over here, put the positive clip over here. Let's see here. Look at that. I hope you can see all that. Oh, but I forgot. Okay, so this has to go down and stay down. Again, once the plate and the record is in place, and this bushing is screwed back on the bottom, all that holds this down. Without pressure on that, it pops right up. So I'm going to hold it down a little bit with my finger just to keep a little pressure on it. But as you can see, it seems to be turning everything nicely. So that's a good sign. So what we're going to do, we're going to continue putting this together, which means we'll solder the wires back up, and I'll have to allow one for the light fixture, and we're going to put the record back on. Now the record has probably seen better day. I mean, he says best side on this side, but boy, it sure don't look like it. I don't see any gouges or big scratches here. So I'm going to go with my instinct and see. I'm going to put a little bit of cleaner to this. I'm going to use my trusty rag here. It's pretty filthy already, but I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol on this rag here to try to clean this off. There's so much dirt that's in the grooves. That's probably, that's what causes all the static on records, is the dirt down inside all the grooves. Wow, look at that. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Probably 75 or 80 years worth of... Well, when was this made? I think this was made in the early 50s. And again, I think it's a number 755. You could probably quote me or correct me in the comments, but I think this is a 755, but I'm not certain. I'd have to look it up in my book. I have a book on American Flyer stuff, and I'm going to try to clean some more of that off. Okay, let's see here if we can get a little bit more. It sure doesn't look like the bad side, but we'll find out here in a couple. Oh, look how filthy that is. Maybe it is the bad side. Maybe that's because of all the dirt that's in there. Wow, that's really nasty. Well, we're going to try it because it's not that difficult to flip it over. Okay, so the next is, remember our little O-ring that we had from underneath. So we're gonna go there. We're going to put that O-ring on, and you can see how that moves up and down. That won't do that here pretty soon. And again, this little special piece will spin right on here. And then we got the record with the clean side up, I would say, sort of. And it fits on that spindle pretty nicely. Then the metal plate goes on that. And you can turn that over a little bit. You can see how that fits. Excuse me. And there's the washer. There's the little nut that holds that on there. Like I said, it's not too difficult to change this out. You can do it pretty quickly. And just snug that up. It don't have to be torqued down. So, with that said, there's the record. You can see it. You can see it here. So what I'm going to do, I'll clean this up too before I finish this completely, but the cone always faces that way. So this goes on here, down here, like so. And I got to make sure that arm is down that way, because that is what picks the receiver, or the whatever mechanism this is called. I don't remember. I think in the book it's the reproducer, because it reproduces the sound. But I think that's kind of odd they call it that. But I think that's the reducer, or reproducer, or whatever. Anyway, we're going to throw a little bit of power to this again, and we're going to see what happens. If it works, it'll be amazing. But I have amazed myself in the past, and mostly by accident. But in theory, this should work. So let's see. Now this wire here is the light, and it would connect over here as well. So again, like I said, when this starts the record, it would also turn the light on inside. Then when the record would get to the cycle where the record's over and it goes back to the beginning, the light goes out. So that's kind of a cool function. But I kind of would like the light on all the time when it's on my layout, but that's the way they made it back in the day. So let's put some power to this and see what happens. Okay. I don't know if you can hear that, but it said American Flyer. It's kind of funny, but it did work. And it is a crappy side of the record, but it went through the cycle, and once it's together and the light would come on, so on and so forth. It does work a little bit better when the body's on and the roof is on. It does make the sound a little better quality, but it said American Flyer, and it said it would, well, let's listen again. I don't know if you can hear it. I hope you can hear it out there. It's not that loud of a system, but let's try it again. And there's a whistle. It's hard to hear, but it's a steam whistle. And then see how it goes back by itself, and then the light would go out. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you let it on like I do, I'm direct power, it would keep doing that over and over and over. So with that said, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna flip the record around real quick. What do you say? Let's try that and see if the guy's right. See if that's the other side's the best side. It could be. But like I said, it don't take long to flip this. So let's flip it over real fast and see what we see and hear what we hear. Okay, so we're going to flip this over. Let's clean it a little bit. See how dirty that side was. And this side was facing up, so it's probably even dirtier. But we'll find out. Let's do that real quick. Let's see what happens here. So he says this is the best side. Let's find out. I hope it is, because the other side worked. And the other record I have from the other station, I have a couple. They're still available. It's pretty dirty too. Yeah. It's pretty dirty, but you know, what are you gonna do? It is what it is. So that record goes back there. This goes back here. The washer goes back on here. And then the nut goes back on and holds everything together. So if you're changing records on your record player at home, flipping one side to the other, it probably this doesn't take a whole lot longer than that. So let's try that again. I think that was pretty cool. Let's see what happens here. We're going to put this back on here. Okay. And we're going to put this back on here. Oh, forgot my cone. Alright, let's put the cone on. Make sure the lever is down in place. Alright, let's see what happens. Okay, well, maybe it is the better side. I don't know. It's hard to expect it sounding like your stereo with a toilet paper tube, but it's working okay. And I'm sure the needle's going to be full of dirt when I lift this off of there. Okay, so let's see what that... Oh yeah, you can see the needle. It's got a lot of soot on it. So it's digging the dirt out. So what it'll do, if you run it long enough, I guess, as many times as you need to, keep running that, and it will dig the dirt out of those grooves. But pretty cool. Like I said, the American Flyer, some of the mechanisms they came up with for sound was pretty unique. Lionel has some sound operated things as well, and they use a similar process. I mean, I think everybody's pretty similar, but the mechanism, the drum, to tie it all together for the functions that it does is pretty unique. So anyway, take this apart, and all we gotta do is solder some wires back together, put the body back on the shell, and we'll be all set. So this is going to be a tight little fit here. Let's see, I might be able to get a little bit of slack out of here, but I think I can get enough to tie this together, and we should be able to get enough to solder this back on down below. Now cut this off. This goes on top of the green wire, so I'm going to slide this wire out a little bit and see if we can get this put back on here where it goes. So where's my little soldering gun? Well, it's not that little, but let me see if we can get this together without too much difficulty. We'll work on this one first. Let's see if we can get that going here. This old solder, that old solder's probably been soldered together there since the early 50s. And it might even be some lead solder. I could probably bet on it. It's lead-based solder. So you just got to be careful with it, I guess. There we go. So that one's put together. So let's see what we can do with this side here. It's a little short and I have to get another wire on this. So I think what I'll do, let me see if I can get a twist on this. I don't know if I can. Let me see. It's going to be tough to get this one to hook. I'll make a little hook out of this side here if I can. And a little hook on this side if I can. See if we can get these to hook each other and hold in place enough, long enough. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that to go that way. It's going to be a tight squeeze here to get that to go. There we go. All right, so we got them together. Let's see if I could squeeze this wire together enough to crimp around that one. Oh. It's like surgery. Okay. Okay, so with that and that and that, I think then I'm going to need a wire to go up for the light. So let's see, what do we got? Oh, we saved a wire. I think this will be long enough. If we go here, the light's going to be about right there. It's going to be awful close. So let's do a different one. Let's give it a new wire. What the heck? And let's make it red. How's that? That'll show that that's going to be power. So we're going to cut a piece off here. That should be plenty there. We'll cut that, cut that. Take a drink there. I'm getting awful dry. Okay, so we'll get this in. We'll make a little hook at that as well and be able to solder all three together, I think. A couple little stray hairs here, cut off with my trusty knife. Where'd it go? Here it is. All right. Let's see if we can make a little hook here. Let's see if we can hook this, bend that hook over. Okay, so what we're going to do, I hope you can see all that. I hope everybody's catching what I'm doing here. Let me take a quick look, make sure that everybody's seeing what I'm doing here. I think so. Okay, so I'm going to fire this up again. It's going to be hard to see. I don't want to wiggle this around too much, but I'm going to put a little solder on the gun here and get this heated up, and let's see if we can get these three put together. There we go. Get a little bit of that heated up. And I'm going to put a little bit on here. Get these wires hot. Okay, so far so good. All right, let's see what happens here. All right. So with that, all three are connected. And what I'll do, I think I'll just slice off a little piece of electrical tape to join that little pocket together there and make sure that we're in decent shape here, because we don't want it touching anything else. It's not supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is cut a little angle piece here. I'm going to see if we can get this around here strategically. And I think we'll be okay. Get these two joined together. Okay. It's like a diaper. If you just do it at an angle, you get the corners flapped over top each other. And you got a pretty good little band-aid there. Then you can cut another little piece, because tape sticks to tape pretty well. So what we're going to do is cut another little angle. Just enough to get this here. Like that. Get that around there like that. There we go. So it will not come apart there. It's soldered and the tape will protect it, and we have enough here for our light. And now, so the thing is, going back to the harness, we got a wire harness here, several feet of wire. Each one of these has a function. So and there's also a little white wire, which you can't see. It's folded up underneath. Let's see. There's a little white wire right here also, which has a little function. So you have to follow the wiring diagram, because there's a couple ways you can wire this. But we do know the green one has been tied to the black, which was the negative side I was using. And then the yellow, which is here, is the hot side that I've been using. And the red and the black on this have a function. I'd have to look at the wiring diagram, but this is set up to be when you're pulling up to a station like this, you use a pressure sensitive contactor. And then you also have a button that American Flyer, I think back in the day, supplied it with this. There was a button. So you have the wire and the button, and you have the contactor and that connection. Then you have, I do believe these two wires would go to right to your transformer for power and negative. And then the button and so on to the contactor makes it all tie together and work. Now again, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, shoot a comment to me if you're familiar with the wiring diagram on this. I do have a wiring instruction somewhere, but for now, to make this work, you know, we're going to have, we can tie the power. Again, I'm going to clip this to the yellow, which represents the yellow that I had here, which was the black on that side, and the green, which is tied to this side. So here we are back, and then this will light up the light. So let's see if we still are on the same process here. Looks like everything seems to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. So all aboard, American Flyer. Okay, pretty cool, pretty cool. So our next step is going to be taking this apart, getting rid of these leads, let that dangle for now. I'm going to wrap this back up so I don't trip over it or run over it with my chair legs, and just put my clip back on it for now to hold this clump of wire together the best I can for now. Okay, so we know we saved that. So where is the body? Here we go. Let's see what we got. Sorry for the reach and all that kind of thing. So windows are available, I do believe. I forget who's got them. This one's pretty warped from heat or whatever, and they're bad shape, but I'll get to that after. Let's pop this on here real quick, and we'll see how it works. So anyway, this goes this way because we have the bay window out front, and I'm just going to stick this down enough and connect the light temporarily real quick and see if we can get it to follow the cycle that it's supposed to be doing. So what I'm going to do here is back this insulation off a little bit. Let me cut these little fuzzies off of the wire. Okay, so we're just going to bend this around this hot lead for a second, if we can. If not, I'll put a dab of solder on it. Alright, I think that'll stay. So that's down, that's on, everything's on. Let's put the roof on and see if it sounds any better. How's that? Okay. Here we go again. One more time. We're going to try this out. So we're going to have the yellow wire was the hot side, the green wire was the common side. So we got this hooked back up again. Hopefully all that's correct. I think it is. Let's see what happens. Oh, my bad. I didn't put a light bulb in. How you like that? So with that, let me get a light bulb in there. My fault. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's get a light bulb. I have a few. Let's see here. I think a clear one is best. Let's see. I know I got a bunch here. Where are they? Okay, here's all the bulbs I got. I got lots of bulbs. So let's see here if we can get one of these in here. Come on now. There we go. Okay. It's hard doing that upside down and backwards. I believe that bulb works. We shall find out. All right, let's try it again. Oh yeah, light works. Cool. All right. Let's see what happens. Yeah, very good. Now the reason the light's not going off, there it is. Okay, so I was going to say the timing, and then when the record starts again, the light comes on. So we're right on the button when we adjusted this drum. I was just going to say the reason the light's not going off because of the drum must be just a smidgen out of sync, but seems to be right on the button. Once the record's done, boom. Light goes off, and yeah. So record starts, light comes on. Let's see if it sounds any better. Hope you can hear that. Pretty cool. It's not the loudest. With all the other train noise on the track or layout, you probably won't hear it, but that's it. There you go, pretty cool. I think it sounds a little better with the roof on. I could be mistaken, but that's it. That's the project. Again, I have to clean it up a little bit, take some kinks out, get some windows, I'm going to go online and see. I got to take the doors out and see if I can get some of those bends out of the doors. But the sliding doors are there, which is cool. They seem to work okay. And I was lucky to find that with that third station I got. And it's cleaned out, so the mechanism's in good shape. So I'll tighten up the wires, make sure the solders are good, all that kind of stuff. And then once I'm all done with fixing windows and so on, I will reattach it on the bottom, twist the tabs over, clean all this off, and it'll be done. It'll be ready to use. So hope that everybody who watched this watched it to the end. It was kind of exciting. I know it's kind of long-winded and takes a while, but when you do it from scratch, it's what happens. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments about these, I have so many projects to do. I got trains, I got engines, I got cars. I strip them and repaint them, and I got these. I take apart, clean them, and make them work again. So I have a lot of things. If somebody has something that they'd like to see, send me an email. You can reach me at MT.TrainRestorations, all one word, at gmail.com. And I'd be happy to hear from you. Please subscribe. Send me comments, what you think. And until next time, this is Mark from MT Restorations. See you again. Bye-bye.